How to repair show will start soon. Say your questions. Grab a drink. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready. How to repair show will start soon. Save your question. Grab a drink. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm sorry, I was just trying to get some maps and everything sorted. You are not going to believe where I am. I have driven round and I've given Burkeye the map link, basically on the Atlantic Way from Mizzen Head. I went all the way up to Bantry, then went down the other peninsula, the other side, and I have found a location for. I was going to till the end of the show, but I'm going to grab my phone now and we'll go outside just to have a look before you can preempt if you've questioned yours, or you put your model number, of machine, and a detailed description. Don't get round to model number, wiring, such what I might have, or you might need to be wrong. Literally, I have only got the drive is worth every second of your time. Right, let me go through. I haven't prepped anything. I will tell you, well, Burkeye will bring up on the screen now, but if I flick my camera around, take a look at this. Now, just up there is going to be parking by that house, but this is my view. Listen to the silence. I can't find a pub though. Let me go walking around. I can't park here overnight because there is a clear sign saying no parking caravans by order. But how about this for a place? Absolutely stunning. The place you could, live out your days. Nice little fishing boat, beautiful scenery. I have been recording for 2-3 hours today, all the route up here with the 360 camera that basically lives on the front of the van on that bracket up there. And I had some questions the other day where people said, were worried about me recording while driving. And I'm going to explain exactly what I do because I've put the equipment in by my bench. But this, well, what can you say? It is absolutely stunning. The coffee and snacks are shut today, but I imagine they're open on weekend. The roads have been interesting. Narrow lanes. I haven't wiped out anyone's mirrors. It's 30, coming up 30 degrees, I would say. I have brought the Algarve weather with me. You can thank me for this. Britain and Ireland are in amongst a big heat wave. It's, well, I don't know what to say about this place. The hospitality from the locals, second to none. The courtesy when driving, people pulling over, letting you pass, second to none. I still haven't been in a pub, but I have plenty of Guinness to hand. So I am quite happy today to spend an evening looking out over this while doing a load of editing on the video that I'm doing for you. Now, Burkeye is in the middle of editing at the moment, a video that I did on Mizzen Head, and I'm going to show you the benefits of AI technology used in the right hands. I will be doing the intro to the video, but then I'm going to let my AI voice show you around Mizzen Lighthouse and the whole point around there with a bit of history and everything else. And I have got some spectacular video footage. I was using my Osmo video camera to record it all down there. I wasn't able to fly the drone, but let's get on with the questions. But firstly, I want to answer a few people's worries about me recording when driving. I have this is an old version. I can't wait to get the new version. This is the Insta360 X3, and this connects up to my microphones. And when I put it all together, that is on the front of the vehicle on a stick that looks out slightly at the front and is able to record everything around it in a 360 format. Now, I don't need to do anything complicated. I have a remote control here, which is on. And if I press that button, it just starts recording. And if I want to stop, I just press the stop button. There's no looking at screens. There's nothing complicated. I have wired this van up completely so that I'm able to drive safely and also stream or record video. So I just wanted to emphasize that because I didn't want anyone thinking I was breaking the law or anything else. As long as you are not having to play around with monitors or look at screens, it is perfectly safe to have a conversation like I'm having with you now through the microphone and just press when I want to record and when I want to stop. That's all dealt with. Let's get on with the questions today. Now, I'm going to have to drink some water because I haven't stopped all day. Smoke coming out of an LGF. Sorry, I didn't say your name. John Derbyshire. Smoke coming out of an LG on 60 degree, but none of the 30 degrees. Smoke coming out of it. Isn't old, but not sure how old. Bought secondhand 5 years ago. I know LD introduced the model 18 years ago, but it's now discontinued. I can't understand when you say smoke coming out of where? If it's coming out of the drum of the machine, it sounds like it hasn't got enough water in it. It was only be the element inside the drum that was causing, you know, if there's no water in there, yes, they would cause smoke from the element because it would be burning, getting red hot because it's not submersed in water. I need a little bit more detail on this, please, where the smoke is coming out. Is it coming out under the lid or is it coming out of the drum itself? And if in doubt, as I've said on many occasions, please, please, please upload a video to your YouTube channel, send me a video, just record yourself recording the machine, talk me through where the smoke's coming out, explain the problem, and I will be quite happy to help. Okay, I did hear you very well at the beginning, but now it's okay. Oh, you didn't hear me very well. Sorry. You see, my dyslexia, I can't read bloody anything. Hi, Idris. Good afternoon to good afternoon to you. We had some questions come in via email, and I've also had a couple of videos from a gentleman that's got a counter problem, but I'm going to make a video on that fault for him because I think there's a lot of people out there that want to understand how to work out the numbering system on the Bosch washing machines that show the PC when you enter a test procedure. And this basically shows you how many wash cycles the machine has done. And I'll be doing a video on that. If this place had a pub, I would stay here for a couple of days and catch up with all the emails and also make a couple of videos that I've got to make to help people out. And I've also got a lot of editing to do, which then I send to Berkay, and Berkay will stick the music on it and put all the captions and the maps and everything else. So he's going to do all that side and I'm going to do the basic edit because his computer is suffering a lot with getting over hot because of all the technology. He needs a new computer, which I will be getting him shortly. Okay, so could you bring up now? I can't see the screen as in real. I might be able to bear with me from that he sent us. We might have some echo a second, so just bear with me because I need to see everything that's going on. No, okay, bear with me 1 second. I have to try and get this open. We are learning all this streaming. This is only our real 9th attempt of doing things remotely. Berkay is in Izmir in Turkey. I'm in Southern Ireland at the moment. And we are really trying to get to grips with all pieces. So I'm just trying to open up. Why can't I see this? I need to mute my microphone. Okay, no, we've still got an echo. I'm going to switch cameras. Okay, I'm on the computer now. Can you all hear me okay? Berkay, can you tell me if you can hear me, please?
I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, we got a bit of delay. I'll read the fault we've got up on the screen from Derek. Good afternoon to you, Derek, if you're watching. We've got AG T76781H heat pump dryer. I changed the start capacitor. I take it you mean on the motor. No joy. I have proven that the overflow is clear down to the pump, and it pumped water to the tank. Right, that's good. That means it's transferring the condensed water to the tank. The drum rotates freely with no noise. I have a video I can send you. Yes, please do, because it would be good to look at it, and also good to put in our library for future references for other people in the future. I believe I had an E32 error, but I cannot get it to appear again. Well, that may be a stored error. You haven't actually said what problem you've got here. I did get Den coming up on the countdown begins, but I have no idea what this is. If you can help. Right, okay, I need some context about what the actual fault is. Heat pump tumble dryers. If it's not heating, this means that the compressor is not running, because it uses a refrigeration process to create the heat going into the machine. And as the air comes down past the filter at the front of the door and back into the condensing area, this is where the warm vapor condenses. If the compressor is not running, then this may be the problem with the machine. But you haven't clearly stated here you've given me everything you've done, but you haven't really given me what the fault is that you have at the moment. Reading between the lines, I think I can actually see that you have a problem with the with it not heating or not turning, because you say you've replaced the capacitor, but no joy. So if the drum's not turning and you've replaced the capacitor, then you've either got a fault with the motor or you've got a fault with the circuit board, really. I can't think, or possibly the wiring. I can't think anything else that would stop that rotating. You put a new capacitor on there. I think it's between 7 and 9 microfarad. And some of the heat pump tumble dryers, they might be slightly higher, up to 15, I believe. But I'd have to look this up on your model. Anyway, can you bring up the next question, Berkay? Just wait for this to come
Of
in.
course.
Now, we are learning how to operate remotely from 2 different locations, so do bear with us. Sometimes I'm switching to the mobile phone, and other occasions I'm in front of the computer. Okay, so extern, appliance Siemens WT8HXE70NL/01 heat pump dryer again. You'll notice that a lot of people are sending us questions in about heat pump tumble dryers, and this is a subject that we'll go on to later in the week. My machine asked for a basic cleaning cycle, so I did that. After that, I did a dry cycle, but the heat did not come on. I'm trying to figure out what is wrong and how to fix it. I am not a white goods repair guy, but I used to build computers and run a new factory assembly line. I also have multimeter and all the tools. That's great. I have been researching online for 3 days and I'm stuck. Right. Well, Siemens is a company that doesn't really supply any technical information. So I can't actually, although I will be able to have a look at the technical information, and I think we've got your email address, so I will respond to you with this. But if you've got no heat being generated, it is either, again, a fault with the compressor not coming on and it's not circulating. This means that you're creating no heat on the evaporator and the condenser isn't cooling. You may have a problem with a sensor which is not triggering the system to come on. And on the Siemens, it is possible that you may have a relay fault on the circuit board, but I will have to get you some more information on this. Again, you can always contact us, or I'll have a look after. If you have given us your telephone number, I will have a call with you on WhatsApp once I've got all the diagrams up on the screen. I'm sorry I can't go into more depth here, but I haven't got the capability at the moment of logging into different websites and bringing up all the technical information I need to answer this correctly. Could we move on to the next one? Right, we haven't got much delay today, so our communications to Turkey is very good because that popped up straight away. Appliance, Smeg dishwasher, D122, my dish wash, and the pump sounds as it is permanently on. Right, the pump you're talking about is the empty pump, I imagine. Not the main distribution pump. It shows an error signal, LED 1, 2, and 3, flashes, pauses, and flashes again. Right, I will have to have a look. Smeg, again, another company. It is very difficult for me to get the technical information on, even for myself, never mind about releasing it to the general public. The off button won't turn the machine off. I disconnected it from the mains, held the buttons down and turned it back on. The machine turns off for about 5 seconds, but then comes back on with the exact same fault. Right, there's a few things that could be causing this off the top of my head. The anti-flood device switch, meaning you've got water in the base of the machine. If you have an anti-flood, which I imagine you do, is fitted at the bottom in the tray. If water is present in that tray, that would cause the pump to come on, meaning that you've got a leak somewhere on the machine, and usually that leak comes from the main motor. Or you have an error from the error codes that you're showing there on the 1, 2, and 3, and that is triggering the pump to come on and put it in safety mode, and of course the machine will not start. Again, I will try and contact you after the show and see if we can rectify the problem. But the first thing you want to do is check the base of the machine for me. Send me another email to tell me if there is water present in the base of the machine. really, there's only three things. Okay, I think I'm back. I think we might have some sort of restrictions through Zoom on time because it seems to have kicked me out and let me back in. And as I have a paid Zoom account, I don't think that should happen. So I do apologize for that. Now, I don't know what you missed or what you didn't miss with that, but I was saying that it's a possibility with this Smeg dishwasher that the anti-flood device was active because either there is water present in the base of the machine or the actual pump, sorry, there is an error code on the machine. Now, Burkeye, can you just confirm that people can hear me and see me? Because on my end, of course, with the seeing the show on YouTube, I don't know if I'm transmitting correctly onto it. Yes, you are back. Thank you, Idris. Much appreciated. Okay. Right. Next question, please.
Before going to next question, we have a comment coming in, and I think you may like it. I'm just going to display it right now.
Right, just bear with me. I haven't got for some unknown reason, I can't see the screen. Just bear with me 1 second. We got all sorts of technical issues here, which I can't work out what's going on. You can see me okay, can't you?
Yeah,
I'm not seeing Zoom in any way, shape, or form, Burkeye.
You're not in Zoom right now.
Oh. No, I'm open. I don't know what's going on here, mate. I've got nothing on my screen at all showing what I need. Just bear with me. I apologize for this. Okay, I found it. My apologies. Okay. Right. So what have you got?
We have a comment from Galda. I think I pronounced it
I
correct.
got it. I was on. Yeah. Shouldn't be too hard to find a pub in Ireland. You might find a lot of them don't open Monday, Tuesdays, etc. Though in remote areas. Well, that's a drying out day, I imagine. That's a good idea. I think having a couple of days with a shut pub is good for your health. Yeah, but I really do appreciate that. Also, a gentleman yesterday, as a thank you, sent me £10 by PayPal as a thank you for the work that I done or have done for him. And he also sent me what's the island called, Burkeye? It's right up the top somewhere. Here we go.
I think Ashil Island.
Um,
You pronounce it, I don't know, but
Yeah.
Plus,
Anyway, he's given us this a sill island, is it? A sill sound or something. Anyway, I am definitely going to go up there and visit that area because he said it's absolutely stunning. So I will buy a couple of beers up there with your donation, and I much appreciate it. And thank you very much for spending the time to tell me about your camper van. And he lives. I can't read the text on the screen. It's Darren, isn't it?
yes, it's Darren.
Yeah. Darren lives just above Dublin, and I've been communicating with him because he has a camper van, which a 1995 one, and he tours all around Ireland with his family. And I really appreciate the donation. So thanks very much for that. Right, let's get back to some questions. I think we have very poor internet signal today for some unknown reason. A Bush washing machine, WMN B712EW. I have a broken bearing that needs replacing. Oh, it's a splittable drum. That's good news. I can't find any bearing with the same exact model number. Right. I did find a bearing with the same ZZ code. Right. Well, if the bearing's got, normally there'll be something, give you an example. It'll either be 3 or 4 digits. It'll be ZZ 6202, and then there may be a couple of letters after that. Any bearing supplier will have these bearings, but do make sure you buy good quality ones. They are only going to cost you no more than £5 for a large bearing, maybe £4 for the smaller bearing, which is usually closest to the pulley wheel on the back. And you'll be or just even go into, if you've got a bearing supplier local to you, you could just take the bearing in, put it on the counter, and they will know which one to give you straight away. I would always get a good quality sealed bearing. You can get the very cheap bearings, but it's worth putting a good quality on because the difference in price is normally no more than a couple of pounds for a very good quality bearing. I hope that answers that. Next one.
Before going to next one, Golda says it pronounced as Akil. I think it's coming from Akil.
Akil.
Yeah, Akil.
Right. Okay, my apologies, Akil. As I said, I am dyslexic, and I really do have serious trouble reading things that I haven't seen before, especially names and everything else. And I also have dyslexia causes you problems with retention, being able to read long sentences and everything else. This is coming up slightly blurred at my end, and this could be it might be streaming well to YouTube, but on my screen, it's quite difficult to read. Okay. It's Beko DCU 8230 tumbled wire. Yeah. And I can't read text, mate. Can you read it to me?
Do you want me to read it? Okay, I can read it to you.
Yeah.
My tumble dryer is not stopping on sensor loads, even though the heat stops. On the sensor program, it dries fully and the heater turns off, but the drum keeps tumbling indefinitely. It does not move to end anti-creasing. Time loads work fine. I removed and checked the NTC at 12k ohms, which is apparently fine. I cleaned the moisture bars on the inside of the drum after watching your video. Could it be the moisture sensor assembly wiring or the PCB?
You may have a broken, it's possible, and I've seen this on a few occasions. One of the wires to the moisture sensor has come off. That is possible. And that would mean it's not getting a reading at all, or incorrect reading. If the one wire was off and the one wire was on, it would actually mean that it was reading dry air because it's not getting any moisture through the bars. So it would mean that it was finished. It's finished its drying process. I'm not sure on this one. You may have a circuit board problem. Have you tried it on a time sequence? That's one thing I would like to know. Whether if you put it on a time sequences, it finishes completely. Again,
He
I
says
need to look.
time
Yep.
loads work fine.
Sorry, say that again.
Time loads work fine, he says.
Right. Well, if it's working fine on the time system and drying the clothes, then it has to be one of the sensors. I need to see if I can find a chart for you on the NTC sensor to make sure that that ohms reading is correct. Basically, NTC sensors, the manufacturers give you a chart. So at 20 degrees, it tells you that the NTC sensor should be reading X reading in ohms. And at 10 degrees, it should be reading Y temperature at ohms. So you're able to work out what the ohms reading is. You need to make sure when you heat the NTC sensor up that it's changing, of course, meaning it's just as things get hotter, the ohms reading will change. But I'll look this up for you after the show and send you an email with what I think or give a chart for the ohms reading. And I'll also have a look at the wiring with regards the moisture sensor. It can only be one of those two things, in my opinion, if it's going through a timed program correctly, unless the moisture sensor chip on the board that it goes to is faulty, or the NTC sensor where it goes to on the board is faulty. You'll also want to do a continuity check on the wires going to the NTC sensor from the circuit board to make sure there's no breakage in the wire, and also do the same with a moisture sensor. That's as best as I can answer that with regards without having the information in front of me. Bring up the next one.
This is the last one, mate.
That's the last one, is it?
Yep.
No, that's a nice easy day. Any questions in the chat?
Not a proper question in chat right now. But Fumeto says, just order a new appliance from AO.
Yeah, well, too many people are ordering just new appliances because they're not having to go to fix the old one. Sometimes it could be a broken wire on the machine, and it just needs fixing or replacing. We live in a world where we just constantly are replacing too much instead of trying to repair. Yes, the manufacturers are making it very difficult with the pricing on parts, and also making it very difficult with regards having technical information supplied freely to the general public to be able to repair the machines. The internet has come back perfectly now. My screen is showing everything great. Smoke coming out of the LG on 6 degrees, but none. I answered this earlier, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so it's a nice quiet day. Yesterday was a very busy stream for the, might have been because it's a Sunday. And of course, we're trying constantly to improve our streams with in different formats on and horizontal for computers and tablets, but we're also trying to get our system working correctly and everything working perfectly, so then we can start streaming to Instagram, Facebook, all the other platforms, because that's the one thing why we're using Ecamm to actually stream, is it allows us to basically stream to all the platforms, but it will not pull in the questions, I think, at the moment from some platforms. But as I said, we've only done 9 streams so far. I've done 4 of those on the mobile, and the other 5 have been with Ecamm. And Burkeye and myself are both learning. So I hope you bear with us while we're ironing out all these problems that we have. Anything else come in, Burkeye?
No, mate. It's a quiet day.
No? Okay, well, we'll keep that short, and I'm going to enjoy the rest of the day. I'll quickly try and take you out for another view outside because it is absolutely stunning. And if I grab my mobile and then try and switch over, we might get some audio bling or whatever.
Hold
Am
on,
I
Paul.
able
You
to?
have a question.
Yeah. Okay.
Not that one. Just a second.
Grundig GTN 39250 GCW heat pump tumble dryer. Not heating up. Cleaned the fluff without dismantling anything. On the test, it won't go past. Wait a sec. On test, most. Sorry, I'm having trouble reading this last bit, Berkeley. It's a bit blurred. On test most, it won't go past.
You're reading correctly, but I think he
Yeah.
had a typo issue.
Right, again, look, if you've cleaned the filter system, I need to know if the compressor is running. And the only way of doing that is an easy way of doing it is actually putting a long screwdriver onto the external side of the compressor, and you would actually be able to put it to your ear and hear it running. But we
He
need to
says,
know if.
he says
Sorry?
as test mode, he says.
Yeah, well, test mode is exactly the same as a normal cycle. It will turn without me looking, Grundig is normally Beko. Without me looking at the schematics of what test mode actually is doing in each individual test, the compressor will have to come on for it to generate heat. And if it's not finishing the test mode cycle, it might be because the compressor is not coming on or something is faulty. But I need to look this up to actually find the correct information for him. Was this from YouTube or
Yes, you.
email? Yeah,
Yeah,
YouTube. Can you Brit Travel 220? I'd be grateful if you would go to the website, ask the same question again through the website, put your contact details in, and I'll quite happily contact you after the show, and I'll be able to look up the workshop to see what's going on and have a chat to you on WhatsApp if you put your telephone, and then I will be able to have a detailed look at this. Doing them off the cuff when I'm traveling, I'm not able to bring some of the stuff up on screen. Thanks for bringing that up, Burkeye. Very useful. No others before I flick over onto the phone?
we have one more.
Okay. That's the good. No, that was the same one. You see, we're both learning. Again, that Galdar Island. On my way over to a friend to swap out a drain pump on her washing machine. Candel? I don't know why it's blurred today. Candel make, I think it was. Couldn't find any blockages, so hopefully this pump fixes it. What was the? You have what the fault's either voltage supply problem going to the pump is faulty, or the filter's blocked. It is possible that a some pose is blocked, and of course, what a lot of people, especially on a Monday, if they've had a Sunday roast and poured fat down the drain, and the washing machine is connected to the bayonet fitting underneath the sink, then this can also block. So sometimes it's not necessarily a problem with the washing machine, it's a blockage with the sink unit that can cause the problem. But good luck. I hope the pump fixes it and you manage to get it sorted. But again, if you have any problems, feel free to come to us via the website, and I'll quite happily make sure you get me the model number and everything, and I'm quite happy to help you out where I can. Any more, or can I switch over? No, another one. Well, you see, right, let me explain. Galvanic corrosion is the deterioration of the weakest metal when an electrical circuit is present around the machine. So the weak part of the galvanic scale is the aluminium. Copper is also weak, and in water tanks, for example, they fit a sacrificial anode to these. And this means if you have electrolysis taking place, that anode will, or any of the other metals. That's why they call it a sacrificial anode. Washing machines don't have sacrificial adding so quickly. This question for course were a lot less than they are today. New washing machines seem to be going through a lot more spiders than ever before, and I have stripped a lot of machines which have the spider has disintegrated, and this is because of electrolysis. Okay, I'm sorry about that. We seem to be having a problem with Zoom because I'm coming into Ecamm via Zoom, and it looks like with the time scale that it's kicked me out after 40 minutes, which is the free call side. But I pay Zoom 15, £20 a month for a commercial account. So this shouldn't be happening. So my apologies with that. Right, as I was saying, the modern washing machines today are going through a lot more spiders than ever before compared to 70 and 80 machines. And I don't know whether it is modern chemicals that we use as powders have developed over the years, or it is a change in the material that the manufacturers are using. And if they have changed the material, I've been asking a lot of people to see if anyone would actually do some tests on old spiders compared to new spiders to tell me if it's the same quality of aluminium being used, because most engineers will tell you they're seeing a lot more washing machines having spiders disintegrate over a short period of time than ever before. And I don't really understand what the problem is. It could be that the modern machines today have a higher electrical field inside the machine, and therefore it is attacking the aluminium as if it was an anode, and therefore killing it a much quicker. But I haven't got the money to, it would cost thousands to send an old spider off to a metallurgist and a new spider off to a metallurgist to actually get the aluminium from those machines compared. I can't give you, with my hand on my heart, 100% answer to that. I'm sorry. Anything else popped in? Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, this is the other problem. Heat pump tumble dryers and condensing tumble dryers only needed an appliance engineer that had been in the trade and with knowledge of how to repair them. Nowadays, most domestic appliance engineers who have their own businesses or private businesses necessarily do not carry around all the equipment for regassing machines. And leak detectors and all the stuff you need for dealing with refrigeration. So what the manufacturers have done here is introduce machines which really can only ever be serviced by their own engineers or someone who has refrigeration equipment, yet again building obsolescence in. Now, we've got a petition into the government. We're just waiting for approval at the moment. Once we have approval, I will be dedicating a whole show to this petition, because the government now is trying to force everyone into buying heat pump tumble dryers. Now, I do agree with heat pump technology. It is far more energy efficient than a conventional heating system or cooling system. But when it's used in tumble dryers, it is sheer madness trying to put all this equipment into a 600 box, which is the standard European size washing machines. The Americans have much larger machines, and I have heard people praising the heat pump technology in these larger machines because they don't have the fluff buildup problem that exists in normal household machines. And even when you go down to your local garage in the UK or Europe, and you see these washing machines and tumble dryers outside, which are coin operated, they are popping up everywhere all over the country now. Those big machines are heat pump dryers, and they are very efficient because they are able to stick the size of refrigeration unit needed into that huge cabinet that is there. Because yes, it might be a 20-kilo drum, but if you look at the size of the machine, they are not only able to get the right size refrigeration unit in to do the job, they're also able to get a very good filtration system in that captures all the fluff before it even gets anywhere close to the condenser or the evaporator. So, yes, I mean, once this petition is approved by government and then we can start sharing it, I will be jumping all over this to get people to sign it. And you only need to look at the video that I've done on heat pump tumble dryers. And I think it's had nearly 1 million views now. So everyone understands. My concerns with heat pump tumble dryers is not that they take in the 600 size cabinets nearly twice as long as a vented tumble dryer to dry, which means that the motor is running for 2 times longer. Every other component in the machine is running for 2 times longer, so it's going to wear quicker for the amount of clothing that you dry. But also, if they start building up with fluff, they really become very inefficient. And people have come, I've had hundreds of emails from people stating that their tumble dryer is taking 3 hours, 4 hours to do a load. And this is because the evaporator and the condenser is starting to clog with fluff. Oh, there's blockages in the system. I'm sorry, I had a call come through while we were there, and that's because I didn't put my phone on silent. And that's because the system doesn't work correctly. So I hope that helps you. Any others? Well, here, Joel, I would love some more information off you. I would even like to, if the problem is you've got to protect your job. And I can understand what I would ask is for you to come on, for me to have a call with you and possibly for you to come on the show to explain what's happening in these recycle centers. So you can see what he's put on the screen here. I work at a recycling center. It's shocking. to see how many white goods are being sent to the landfill due to built-in obsolescence. I have a friend, Tyler, who runs a company in South Wales, and I'm hoping to bring him on for an interview shortly. As he owns his own company, he won't get the sack. But I imagine if you came on a show, you could be jeopardizing your job, and I wouldn't want you to do that. But the amount of I would love to have your thoughts in the chat now. How many modern looking fridge freezers are you seeing coming into your recycling center? I would also like to know how many modern type heat pump tumble, well, all heat pump tumble dryers are no older than 3 to 5 years, really. How many of those heat pump tumble dryers are coming in now? And also, what other appliances are you starting to see coming in, which really have, they still look like they're under 3 to 5 years old? I would really love to get this information. Even if you can't type it up now, do send us an email, or even put it in the chat so everyone can see after this live stream finishes, because sometimes the conversations that we're having aren't showing up on the front end of YouTube. We're able to see them in the back end, and I'm trying to rectify that problem at the moment. But more people like you coming to expose the industry just proves how crooked this industry has become. Everything about our reliance, and as a gentleman said earlier on in the show, just go to AO and buy a new one. That is not the answer. We need to be building machines. How come in 1970s, 1980s, we built machines that lasted 25 to 30 years? But yet today, predominantly, most machines are having to be replaced in 5 to 7 years. On the higher end machines, you might be squeezing 10 years out of a machine. But this is totally wrong. And government is allowing this to go on because consumption is good for the economy. Anything else, Burkay? How do you verify that the bearing housing wasn't damaged when removing the old Spider? Now, when you say the bearing housing, yes, the insert inside the plastic drum is aluminium, but it's also protected via a seal. And really, apart from a little bit of fluffing, what I call fluffing on the edge where electrolysis takes place, really the bearing housing does not ever cause a problem. I have never seen a bearing housing damaged. It's always the Spider that is gone faulty. When removing the bearings and inserting new bearings, yes, a individual can damage the bearing housing because they haven't pressed the bearings in squarely, meaning they haven't used the correct tool to pull the bearings in. But really, I have never seen a bearing housing corrode from electrolysis. It's only ever the Spider that I see fail. Any others? I'm not going to go into religion. I have enough trouble with politics. It's highly possible that, but what the way to go about this is, great question, by the way, Pedro. Right, go to Indicet's website and type in the full model number. You might have some other letters after that IDC 85. And on Indicet's website, if you go into the page on that product that you're looking for, the drum, you would then be able to get the J number or the C number. Now, Inderset's part numbers normally on IDC 85, I think they were using a C number, which was C followed by 6, 7 numbers minimum. Yeah, it could be 8, 9 numbers. I'm sorry, I don't know why my phone is ringing again. Let me just see if I can quit Zoom. Sorry, not quit Zoom, quit WhatsApp. And that way no one can ring. Then go to Hotpoint website and put the full model number in for the TDC series and bring up the same product on the Hotpoint website, and they also will show a C number and a J number. If they match, you know it's a perfect fit, because a drum for the IDC 85 might be fitting somewhere in the region of 100 to 200 different types of machine across the Hotpoint Inderset range. I hope that answers your question. I explained it correctly. So do go and compare the two genuine part numbers. Well, I mean, the spider is quite simple. What I do is, firstly, take the belt off the machine. This basically eliminates anything to do with the motor, any noises coming from the motor. Then, if you look inside the drum at the front and look into the back of the silver drum, you will see that there is 3 fixing points hidden behind the drum. Now, where that sort of triangle comes down to the outside of the drum, there'll be 3 points. Turn the drum to each of those points. Hold the outer drum and the inner drum together and see if there's any movement at all. Secondly, is you could spin the drum and you would, it should be quiet as a whisper. If you had bearings that are gone, you would hear them clearly. The spider sometimes can have a hairline fracture, and this means you would not detect that unless it was at high RPM. Really, you need to take any clothing out of the machine or very little clothing in there and put it onto just only a high spin without much weight in there. If the spider was faulty, you would normally hear that noise instantaneous. Because you haven't got much weight in, the suspension doesn't really come into play. But if it's happening when you have a heavy load in the machine and you're getting it vibrating and shaking about, it is possible it is the suspension. Depending on which machine you've got, you can either have 2 dampers or shock absorbers, 3 or even 4 on some machines. Sometimes these can wear and do need replacing. And also, a lot of people do not balance the machine correctly. This means always make sure that the feet are adjusted to the surface level of the floor. Make sure that you put a spirit level on the top of the lid and make sure it's not leaning forward or backwards. And also do it from side to side as well to make sure the machine is perfectly level. And you can adjust this with the legs. The last reason it could be shaking, if the machine is not emptying in the allocated period of time, meaning that it is not extracting the water quick enough, this can also cause it to vibrate. I hope that answers your question. Galdar, the machine won't empty fully, twice tested. Machine won't empty. We've got on my side, Burkite, we've got a blurring on the text for some unknown reason. Not kitchen drain blockage. I had it emptied to a bucket. No hum from the motor or pump. It was getting hot, so has power. Well, yes, I mean, you can detect that it's getting hot. I mean, look, if a pump is getting hot, it usually means it's got a circuit, but you can always test the 2 wires going to the pump. If it is an AC pump, you should be getting 220 to 240, depending on where you are in the world. Of course, America is different. Or you're from Ireland, sorry, Galdar. Flow good at first. You may have a weak pump. You may have a blockage from in the sump hose. I hope you've checked that first, because if the water is not coming out of the drum because of a blockage in the sump hose, then the motor is just spinning and not pumping water because there's no water there. But pumps, they do fail. Some pumps you can actually strip down and pull the armature out of the housing, and you'll see how much sludge is behind it. But you'll need to take the pump off, and you would also be able to, if it's an AC pump, to test this on the workbench and have a look at the impeller and everything else. Pumps do fail. It's, I normally, really, you should always, a pump can fail anytime, but normally I would start suspecting pumps failing on a 5 to 7 year old machine if it has a drain problem. But there's plenty of videos on the website to assist you with that. Is the Smeg brand part of a group? I would have to check. I think they have been bought out, but I'm not too sure who they've gone with. I will answer that for you by tomorrow, Idris. Okay, I'll look that up this evening and see who is the actual owners of Smeg. I wasn't too sure if they've been taken over. Electrolux washing machine combined with dryer, strong shaking during spinning. Again, washer dryer, but if it's only happening on the spin cycle, this could be a problem with the suspension. It might not be emptying correctly. Overloaded machine is a very common fault, and imbalanced load on a machine is a common fault. If you're doing a mixed load of washing and you put one big towel in and then 5-6 shirts, that towel can move to one side of the drum. And if a machine hasn't balanced the load or is unable to balance the load when it goes into spin, of course it's going to shake. I always say, if you're going to do towels, do 2-3, at least 2-3 reasonable sized towels. And then what normally happens is when it comes to the balancing, it will throw the towels to different sides of the machine, therefore capable of creating a balanced load. Really not emptying in the allocated period of time is a common problem. Suspension legs possibility, and also if you say there's a good flow of water coming out of the machine, if you test it into the bucket and make sure that you've got a good flow when it's doing an empty, then if it's not a drainage problem that's going into your drainage system, if it's under a sink, it can only be the suspension legs, or possibly not emptying in the allocated period of time. Occasionally on some machines, you might have worn brushes, but that's very, very rare. I do need more in depth on that. What vibration levels are acceptable during a 12 to 1600? Well, look, any machine that's doing a 12 to 1400 spin will shake a little, but you can always balance the machines better by making sure the machines are level, making sure the machine is emptying. It should be no different than the day you bought the machine. If all the components are in good condition and everything is happening in the allocated period of time, what happens on a rinse cycle is the machine will not go into a high RPM until the water has left the machine. Then you have the water that's still absorbed in the clothing. And if the load is balanced reasonably well, it will start off on a gradual spin, starting at 400. It will then up the voltage to the motor, taking it to 600. Then it'll up the voltage again, and take it all the way through in stages to 1400. And the idea behind this is that it slowly balances the load on lower RPMs as it gets rid of the water. And as the water comes out, it's able to remove more water by increasing the spin. Thanks for that, Soma. Thank you for answering the question. Pete Math, this blurred screen is causing problems. We're going to have to work our way around this. Smeg remains a privately held, family-owned company, right? Italian, I believe, with the yeah, I recognize that name, family. I believe they're Italian, actively managing its global operations. So we still have a couple of privately owned companies still. Of course, EBAC was a privately, well, it wasn't quite privately owned. The founder of the company still managed it, but he did something about distributing some of the business responsibilities to his staff. In other words, brought the staff into the company. Miele is, I believe, still privately owned, and we have Smeg as well. But most of the larger companies like Beko, who own Hotpoint, Inverter, Ariston, Creda, and all the other brands, Beko bought all those brands off Whirlpool. Then we have Bosch, Neff and Siemens and all their brands. That's a separate company. AEG, Electrolux and Zanussi and all their other brands is another company. I mean, it is surprising how few companies out there now. And Smeg is not that popular in the UK compared to places like Spain, Portugal. It is, I see it a lot more in Spain and Portugal, and I did see them at I'm not too sure if they were exhibiting at the IFA trade show in Berlin. Thinking of it, I didn't see them there. But thank you very much indeed for the information. Much appreciated. You're going to have to read that to me because it's blurred on the screen, mate.
Okay, I can read it to you. What test do you perform before delivering the machine? Wash, rinse, spin, or leak test?
Before delivering a machine, well, if it's new in the box, I do no tests at all. I take the machine out to a customer's house, install it, and everything should be perfect after you remove the transit brackets. If it's a second-hand machine, I am very cautious to make sure that I take all the water out of the soap drawer first. I also make sure I lay the drainage pipe on the ground so any water that's still in the machine can drain away if possible. But some machines have a waste pipe coming out at the top of the machine. I would always lie the machine down on the soap drawer side if I'm lying it down, if I'm not able to transport it in the upright position. And a lot of people pick up washing machines and they've got a hatchback and they just lie it on the side and then plug it in straight away when they get to the house, and then something catastrophic happens. And this could be because water has spilt out out of the machine onto the electrics. So you should always leave the machine for a few hours to dry out any moisture if you've transported it. Also, it's another good idea to take the lid off the machine if you're having to lie it down. And if you've got an old pillow or something like that, just support the drum, because you don't want the drum to sort of come off suspension legs or any hoses get pulled off. But once you've got it in situ, I normally turn it onto a rinse cycle and just let it fill with water, then empty. I'll turn it onto a spin cycle. And if I've got my portable test meter with me, I will put it onto a 50 or 60 degree wash if I was, really wanting to test it fully before I leave. In other words, it was quite far away from where I was coming from. I would test the heating system just by checking that it's drawing the correct ampage. But I normally inspect underneath the machine to make sure no wires have been pulled off. If the drum starts vibrating after 3 months, how will you prove the problem is due to the... After 3 months, it won't be the spider that's failed. I can't see a spider failing unless it was a catastrophic failure. I can't see a spider failing from a new machine to a second-hand machine. That would just not happen. Next one. If it's a new machine, can't you? What's that H word? I can't read it.
It's like Hasselt. I don't know how to pronounce it, but Hasselt.
If it's a new machine, can you do a full test in Assault? Well, some machines have a test cycle, yeah? And if you know how to enter the test cycle, you are able to run the test cycle, which will test all the functional components on the machine. I did a video on the Bosch recently, for example, which has a full test sequence. It will run through checking each of the individual water valves. It would then fill, rotate the drum clockwise, anti-clockwise. It will kick the heater in for 30 seconds or so to test the heater. Then it will empty. Then it will go through a spin cycle. Some machines have a test sequence where it will do a test sequence, but it may heat the water to a certain temperature. But what the machine is doing is testing the NTC sensor. When the heater comes on for 30 seconds or 40 seconds, it shows, because the water inside the machine has risen 1 or 2 degrees, it is able to evaluate that the ohms reading has changed on the NTC sensor, and therefore it's detecting that the NTC sensor is good, so it doesn't bother with the full cycle. It just then empties and goes in through a spin cycle, starting at the low RPM, going all the way through to the high RPM. And these test sequences normally don't take much longer than about 6-7 minutes. So if you do know there's a test sequence on the machine, it's always worth running the test sequence once you've delivered it to a customer's house. Hope that answers that question. Any others? What's the weakest point of repaired drum compared to factory drum? I'm not quite understanding the question here. When you say repair the drum, are you meaning replacing the spider and the bearings? Or are you... There's no other, if you have access to repair a drum on a washing machine, you are only ever replacing the spider and the bearings, or just the bearings. If the spider's in good condition, you would clean out the drum, inspect everything, make sure there's no damage or anything else. But it should be no different from a new drum. Once you've replaced the bearings and the spider, it's basically a new drum. The actual plastic part of the drum on the outside does not wear, and unless you've got a warped drum, the stainless steel part will stay a cylindrical shape. There's no reason for it to fail unless someone has put trainers or something stupid in the machine. And some machines are even designed to allow footwear to go in them. But normally I tell people don't put things like trainers in, because you're putting a very heavy load when it comes to spin, usually in one part of the drum. And things like heavy towels, overloading the machine, footwear going into the machine could cause a drum to warp. But if you've got a perfectly good drum and you've repaired the bearings or the spider, it should be as good as new once you've assembled it correctly. Hope that answers the question. Again, and I don't have that much technical information from Miele. You need to put your model number in to YouTube, I would do this is, or even use AI. Put your model number and your make of machine into AI and say, right, I've got this machine. I'm wondering if there is any control functions for dimming the display on the actual machine. You will be very surprised what AI can bring up sometimes. And it even teaches me a few lessons on occasions. You can't always believe everything it says because it can have a tendency to hallucinate, but it will go searching far and wide to find the correct information for you, which you might not be able to find. So give it a try. Anthony, I can read this one. Anthony Den, 4345. It keeps going back to full brightness, even though the setting does not change. Yeah, well, the circuit board may have. Are you leaving the machine? Of course, when you switch it off, is it necessarily disconnecting the circuit board? If the circuit board has got constant power to it, then it shouldn't lose its memory. If you disconnect the machine from electricity supply, then it would lose its power. And if there is a battery fitted, which is one of those little round ones, like in watches, there may be something like that on the circuit board, or there may be some power storage device on the circuit board which retains the memory. But like cookers, like a lot of appliances, if they've been disconnected from the power supply for a long period of time, it will reset itself to its factory settings. And this is what might be happening. So if the machine is going off, and it's got no power, it would revert back to its factory settings. You leave it off mostly. When you say leave it off, you actually turn the switch off on the wall or unplug it, or you just turning the actual machine off on the switch on the front of the machine. And of course, have a look in AI to see if there is any information. I doubt if you will find any information on that. It's a Miele machine, wasn't it, Burkeye?
Yep.
Yeah. So there won't be that much manufacturer's technical manuals out. Yeah, I mean, most of the faults with washing machines are logical, mate. Well, you've got to remember, when a machine is made in the factory, you've got a shaft at the back of the machine that goes through to the bearings. That then has the pulley wheel on the back of it and a nut to hold it all in place. So that can't change at all unless there is damage to the bearing housing, which would really, I have never ever seen a problem. The spider would be able to be visually checked, making sure there's no hairline cracks or anything in there. The drum, really, if you spin the drum by hand and look at the gap at the bottom of the machine between the outer drum and the inner drum, you have a distance between there. When spinning the drum, that distance should stay the same as it spins round. Now, if it's going from a 10 mil gap to a 2 mil gap, then you have a problem with the drum, meaning that the drum is warped. I'm understanding what you were saying earlier now. The only way of testing something like that is manually spinning it and looking at the two distances. You could even use a micrometer and slowly rotate the drum to see how much out the lip is on a cylindrical basis. I hope that answers that question for you. That's what I'm here for, mate. You feel free to ask the questions, because the questions that you ask may help someone else who watches this show on a replay. and we've got to try and start finding a way of time stamping all these faults as they come up on the screen, so that people will be able to reference it when searching in Google. And that's something I've got to look into. Sorry for asking so many questions. As the technician person, I have a lot of questions and like to understand the repair process in detail. Look, I've on my travels now, and as I said, I'm having a leisurely week or so going up the coast of Ireland and enjoying this unbelievable scenery. And I'm going up to Donegal to meet Barry, where I'll be doing some videos and other bits and pieces. But when I go to the UK, I have got a couple of partners on board, and I've promised them that I am going to help them set up a similar type test bay in their premises. And it's very simple to build. So when I actually build the test bay that you will find on my YouTube channel, there's a 360 video, which means when using your mobile phone, if you look at the 360 video, you can actually turn around and have a complete 360 view in my workshop of how I've designed it, how I've built the meter and measurement system for monitoring machines. I'm also putting flow meters in now, so I can understand how much water a machine uses on each cycle. There's, having the correct information in front of you makes life so much easier when it comes to repairing a machine, because when you turn it on and it fills with water, and instantaneous on the meter above, I can see that the machine is pulling 1800 watts on top of the motor. Then I know that the heater's come on. Now, when I get the machine up to 60 degrees and I put a temperature probe inside the drum and it reaches 60 degrees, and I see on the wall that I'm pulling 2.2 kilowatts and then it suddenly comes down to 100 watts, I know the heater has disconnected. I don't need to strip the machine down to put a meter on everything. Having the right test equipment makes the process of repairing machines much easier. I've even built in the past refrigeration monitoring equipment, and this will measure the temperature in the fridge compartment, the temperature on the freezer compartment. It will show me the wattage being drawn, and it puts it all onto a graph. And I am able to look at that graph and understand that the fridge ran for 20 minutes, then stopped, ran again after 15 minutes, then stopped. It was running for 20 minutes. Therefore, I can understand that a fridge freezer is cycling correctly. Now, if it's a frost-free fridge freezer, I'm able to determine that the defrost system is basically, I know on a AG fridge freezer that the defrost system is 350 watts. So the motor, the compressor, is drawing 80 watts when it's running. So when it comes to the point of doing a defrost once every 22, 23 hours, and I know that's what should be happening, then I'm able to see on the graph for a 10-minute period, the graph shot up from running at a normal 80 watts turning on and off, shot right up to 400 and something watts of power for 10 minutes. And then the temperature in the freezer suddenly increased on the graph as well. There's a very good Samsung video YouTube channel. So just go to the YouTube channel and type in Samsung fridge freezer, I think it is, or just put fridge freezer in, go through them, and you will see some videos I did explaining how the graphing system works, and I show all that on there. But having the correct data to analyze modern electronics is very important. I hope that answers that question. Next one.
Okay, we have two more questions, and I can read the first one for you if you want, and then we can call it
Yeah.
as you wish.
Okay, that's brilliant. And I might flick over on my phone, or is Zoom going to kick us out again?
We'll see. So
Yeah.
he says, not necessarily a question, but despite there being heat pump dryers in North America, vented dryers, gas and electric will be more popular. Gas even more, since they are cheaper to operate compared to electric.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, your utility rooms in America have got much more space than the average European kitchen, and some of the appliances are much better. It's like all things. If you have a bit of a garden or south or west east facing roof, you should be putting solar onto your property. When you consider that a conventional tumble dryer, let's just look at a UK tumble dryer, a vented tumble dryer in the UK is basically 2.2 kilowatts of power to run for an hour's cycle. And that will be cycling the heater once it's got up to temperature. So it's not constantly pulling 2.2. Over an hour's basis, it may pull a total of 1.5 kilowatt. Now, if you've managed to, even on an overcast day, solar panels with the correct alignment, if you've got a 5 kilowatt solar array on your house, you would be generating somewhere in the region on a dark, overcast day, maybe 1,000 watts. Let's just call it 1,000 watts. Well, then that solar array is not only, when you're not using the tumble dryer, it's actually powering everything else in the house. Getting these heat pump tumble dryers instead of vented or electric or even gas. I mean, I don't know of any gas tumble dryers in the UK now on the domestic front. White Knight used to do some very nice gas tumble dryers, but you have much more choice in America when it comes to this. And the manufacturers are not forcing heat pump technology onto you compulsory like the UK and European governments are doing. They are removing the right of our choice. And it's ludicrous what they're suggesting. A machine that is not working correctly in the marketplace today is basically being forced upon us because politicians are legislating the laws. And we have got a petition in place at the moment, and we're just waiting for approval. So then I can start promoting what my views are and letting you decide whether you want heat pump technology being forced upon you compulsory. Yeah. I've got nothing wrong with heat pump tumble dryers. If you want to go and buy one and you've watched videos and made a decision and it's your choice and you want to go out and buy it, great. But why have it forced upon us? We still should be able to purchase vented and condenser tumble dryers. I hope I answered your question. You have to read that one as well. I'm sorry. It's blurred.
Okay, you're an old, I know.
Well, it's not old. It's blurred on my screen. I'm going to take a damn picture of it.
All right, I'm reading. Evening, Paul. Pleasure to see you fighting the good fight for consumer repairability life. Keep going. We need our own Louis Rossmann for this side of the pond.
Well, look, I'm not a Lewis Rossman or anything else. I'm just someone that started off with a YouTube channel in 2006 because I made a video to help a friend out in Scotland. I had a phone call from that friend 6 months later, and I never even looked at the video. And he rang me up and said, "Oh, firstly, thanks for repairing my cooker." He said, "Secondly, have you seen that video?" I said, "No." And I said, "Well, what about it?" He said, "It's had 50,000 views." And then the penny dropped that there was a lot of people out there that needed help. So I started making videos for 10, 15 years. And, slowly my YouTube channel grew. I'm not a great speaker. I'm dyslexic, so I don't present that well. Technology's improving everything. But I'm no Lewis Rossman, and these are very talented people who speak very well and do things naturally. I am very knowledgeable in my topic, but I don't present as well as them. I hope that explains that. But I do appreciate the support. Thank you very much. Barry Temple, you see, yeah, we see Barry's backing me up here. Okay,
Yeah, but
we are getting.
he didn't complain at the show, mate.
Yeah, well, he's not 60 years of age and nearly blind in the first place. He's bloody a whippersnapper. his eyes can focus on stuff better. For me on the screen, that is, this one's not too bad. I can read it. But when it's a lot of text on the screen and it goes slightly smaller, I cannot see it because it's blurred. And I can't even see my face clearly. The whole of the preview is slightly blurred. And let me just do this so you know what I'm actually suffering with. Now that's amazing. If I actually use my camera to look at it, I can read what's on the screen through my camera, but what's on the screen is blurred. Weird. It must be some sort of focusing thing inside the iPhone camera. Any other questions?
Remind me after the show. I'm gonna buy a magnifying glass.
I can't do the gesture that I want to do to you online. Leave it at that. Anything else? Summer Electrics. Why did washing machine manufacturers shift from universal induction motors to inverter? Look, there's a lot less copper in the traditional brush motors, and the development of PCBs, induction motors. If you look at the back of the LGs and Samsons and Fisher Barkle, there's a lot of copper, more copper involved than the motors that they're using now. But the main problem shifts. The old brush motors would wear carbon brushes and need replacing. These new modern, I'll take this Bosch washing machine that I just did a review on a few months ago, is a very silent machine. The motor is very silent. The technology is good. It is the circuit boards that predominantly fail, not the motors. And it's all, and again, I think it works in the manufacturer's favors. And you've got to remember, a modern inverter washing machine motor, if you compared it to a brush motor, I would say there is at least 2 to 3 kilos difference, well, at least 1 to 2 kilos difference in weight, and that predominantly is copper. So this means it costs a lot less for the motor manufacturers to produce the motors. And there's nothing wrong with inverter motors, but the money you save on the motor, you should be investing in building and testing better circuit boards to make sure that these circuit boards last the test of time. And Barry will tell you, and every other engineer will tell you. For example, the heating systems that we have on dishwashers and washing machines, I have seen relays which are cheap Chinese relays, 16 amp, that fail consistently. If we look at the AG Zanussi tumble dryers, the vented and condenser, which was manufactured, let's say 1995 up to about 2010, those relays on the circuit boards failed. Now, they were reasonable quality. Plus, you can't fit induction motors into large drums. Yep, great answer, Barry. Thank you for that. So a lot of the AG and vented tumble dryers had relay problems on the circuit boards. Hoover and Candy tumble dryers also had problems with relays on the circuit board. And it's not the design of the board, it's the cheap components that go in. Now, when I visited Daniel's factory in Barcelona, this was also very present when we looked at selector switches in cookers, because the cheap imports that the manufacturers were using, instead of buying selector switches which were good quality, like Daniel's selector switches from Gotak's selector switches have a certain amount of silver in the point contacts, and this stops them arcing and carbonizing. The cheap China, and I'm not going to say the country, but cheap components have got very little, if no silver in whatsoever. So after so many opens and shuts of the actual points, carbonization took place on those points and they started overheating until the point of failure. And you will find a testing video I did at the Gotak factory that shows you the graphs, and some selector switches were failing in less than 700 cycles. This means a selector switch was designed to fail on a 2 to 3 year period. Ludicrous. I hope I answers that question. Any more? What is the advantage of direct drive inverter? Oh, I actually like the direct drive. I think it's directly on the shaft. There's no belt, less components, less possibilities. The LG direct drive and the Samsung Daewoo. There's other makes as well. The only problems I used to come across really was the hall sensor. The motors were pretty good. And you've got to remember, some people have actually made videos of them using a washing machine drum with an inverter motor, which ran for 6-7 years because they turned it into a generator, a water generator, meaning that they put an impeller system on, removed the drum, put an impeller system on. I'll have to find the video to show everyone. It's not one of my videos, it's on YouTube. But if you've got a stream running through your garden with that washing machine drum, they are actually producing 500 watts of power on a 24-hour basis, 365 days a year. Unbelievable. So the motors themselves are very good. They only had to rewire the motors to become a generator instead of a motor. But no, I like direct drive technology. I think it's very good. Any others?
All right, I'm gonna read it for you.
Okay, thank. Well, that didn't come out. I can read that one. It's not every one, Burkeye.
Go ahead.
It sometimes comes on the screen and it's blurred. I just think it's the latency with, you're in Turkey, I'm in Ireland, and I'm using Starlink. You're using a Turkish network provider, and one of them is missing the link. This comes through perfectly, and I can read it straight away. Sean A 806, thanks very much for the question. US machines have always used a motor with a centrifugal start switch. Usually, yeah, you're on a 110 basis over there though. Last decades, before the problem would arise, have a Maytag washer, 1979. I love some of your American stuff, mate. The problem being is someone stuck us in very small boxes in the UK and Europe. Our houses, to be honest with you, we wouldn't be able to get a full-size Maytag Speed Queen in through the front door, because I think they're 900 wide, some of these machines. UK properties aren't designed for your American machines, and this is why you see very few American manufactured machines in the UK market, because predominantly you have much bigger machines. And I really do love your stuff. I mean, I'm hoping at some stage on my travels to either come to Canada and buy a camper in Canada, because I'm allowed to do that as a British citizen, as long as I've got address to register it, and then come down and spend a year driving around America. Or I might even, I have been looking into this, of chucking this old girl on a boat and coming over there. And I've actually found now that some people I spoke to, a German couple, when I was down in Spain, had shipped their camper van to Argentina, and spent, I think it was 18 months they spent touring around South America. And if it's legal for me to do it, I am quite happy to chuck this van and come over to the States. I think I might wait until the politics change slightly, but I would love to come over to America for a long stay. and have a look at the American appliance industry. And of course, you've got Ben's Appliances up north somewhere. I've spoken to Ben on many occasions. He's a great YouTuber, provides you lot with great information on your appliances. And there's so many people I'd love to come and see. Plus, there's one of the biggest exhibitions in appliances in the world in Las Vegas once a year, I believe. And I'd love to come down there, leave my credit cards over here, of course, because it's Vegas. But I would love to come and see that show. So I the time's the biggest problem, and I would love to come over to the States. I used to go skiing when I was younger over there, but I would really love to come over and spend a year touring round. I have a class that I attend every Saturday, and everyone on that class apart from myself is American or Hawaiian. The teacher is Hawaiian. There's people from Canada, there's people from all over the States. And I would like not only to have a look at the appliance industry, I've been working alongside these people for the last 3 years, and I've always met them on Zoom or whatever when we do class. And I would love to have the capability to pop round and see all these people, and it would be a great experience as well. Any more?
I have a surprise for you.
I'm waiting. It's amazing. There was no one here at all when I first arrived, and now I've got kids everywhere. But the sun's come out. Am I waiting, or what you bringing up?
Yeah, I already brought it. Can you hear me? Barry?
Burke, I'm not seeing anything, mate.
I can see it, mate. Barry, can you hear me?
I think we might have some sort of latency problem again.
I can't hear you, mate. You need to unmute yourself.
Burke, if you can hear me, speak.
Yep. I can hear you, Paul. Can you hear me?
Okay, sorry, my internet dropped again. That was Zoom, and I monitored the amount of, by the way. So we have a problem not
right.
letting us stream
I think
for
we can
a
hear
short period. Hello, Barry, how are you doing, boy? Okay, sorry. Now we've got internet Barry again. Out. Barry saw the amount of, by the way. So we have a problem not letting us stream for a short period. Hello, Barry, how are you doing, boy?
Good evening. I heard someone had problems with their eyesight.
Okay, sorry. Now we've got Barry again. Out. Barry saw the amount. I'll wait till I get up your neck of the woods, mate. I think two streams into Burkeye's computer is killing him.
No, it's not mine, man.
Good evening. I heard someone had problems with their eyesight.
You don't need to repeat my eyesight. We were fully aware that I'm 60 and my eyesight's not as good as everyone else's.
No, it's not mine, man.
How are things?
They're only for distance, mate. Very well. I tell you, this is a beautiful country, mate. You should have dragged my ass over here ages ago. It is well. Yeah, well, I've never seen. Well, I don't think you've had weather like this for ages, have you?
No, tomorrow it's going to get even better up the north anyway. But thank God my van has air conditioning. I can't say that for the rest of the engineers, so I'm going to leave for work early tomorrow.
Well, I actually, because when I stripped down the van on this, the air conditioning never worked very well. And that's because the front end of the vehicle was designed for vans and things like that. But when you stick an 8-meter body on the back, the
Yeah.
driving air conditioning unit was not really efficient. And I just decided, bugger it, let's rip it off. It's not, I've never used it. Even when I was in the Sahara Desert with the van, I never used the air conditioning because you'd get cooler having the windows open. So I just eliminated the whole thing, reduce weight, and of course I gain a few miles to the gallon because I removed the air conditioning system. And with
Very
gas
good.
prices today, mate, that's a very important factor. It's I think the more remote I'm getting,
But we could always
the
skip.
steeper the price.
Yes.
Sorry, we had a little bit late.
That's true. But I think with all these, you're all right. With all these heat pump dryers, I'm sure we can make you new air conditioning again for the van at a cheap price.
I really don't, I don't suffer with
For
heat
nothing,
problems.
for
As long as
peanuts.
I'm in the shade and not in the direct sunlight and I've got the windows open, it's 30 odd degrees. I would say it's coming up to 30 degrees down here at the moment where I am. And I've got the Atlantic breeze, so I'm happy as Larry. I'm just waiting to finish this show and crack it in. Barry dropped off there.
Yeah, he just dropped off.
Yeah, it could be he's on mobile, so it might have been his mobile signal.
I think he has an unstable network, mate.
Right, okay. Anyway, anything else, Burkhard?
We got more questions. You want me to go through them?
Yeah, let's look. I'm parked up, so yeah,
Still
I've
a
got
little
no mileage to drive. I'm quite happy to help.
Okay, then. So I'm gonna go back to the comment section.
Okay.
So we have a comment from. I can't tell his name.
Now that one's blurred. Read it for me, please.
Okay. Isn't an electric car basically an appliance on your wheels? And would you consider expanding your YouTube channel to scrutinize EVs and how car manufacturers employ anti-repair methods to harm consumers?
How do I fairly answer? Yesterday I got too political, and the day before I got too political. I only have so much time at my life. I'm 60 years of age. I enjoy helping the domestic appliance industry. I enjoy helping my colleagues in the industry improve their businesses. But I have no intentions whatsoever of putting extra workload on my shoulders. To be honest with you, with my mother passing last year, she left me comfortable. I have pension plans in place and other bits and pieces. I don't need to really even be working. I choose to work because I enjoy it. I enjoy the traveling. I enjoy making videos on how to repair appliances. I love fixing things and I enjoy helping. So that's the whole purpose behind. And as I don't have children, this channel really is my legacy. And the two people I work with, it's nice to build a sound, solid business all the way from the bottom to support them in the future. I hope that answers your question. You're going to read that again?
Okay. In today's society, if you make products too good, your company fails. We used to sell LMS contractors and service kits, which are fixed and moving contacts. Lots worked on dock cranes and dump pits for decades.
Okay, I'm going to answer that question very fairly, and here's my opinion. If we look at Miele, for example, who built high-end machines, they never tried to expand their business rapidly like all the larger companies have. They have done it over 100 years nearly. Miele have been going, and yes, they advertise, but they were very expensive machines. They didn't try to get all the marketplace, so they didn't take on monstrous amounts of staff. They slowly expanded the business as they could afford to. When you look at conglomerates like Beko, for example, and Whirlpool, and we look at what has happened over the past 50 years, English Electric, Hotpoint, Creda, Jackson, just to mention a few, were all individual companies, and slowly they got acquired. And eventually, in I believe it was early 80s, you might know this, Burkeye, better than me because you did the video the other day. In the 80s, or 90s, they were acquired by Indeset. And Indeset were an Italian manufacturer who absorbed all these small companies into one brand. All the staff, and you're taking on all the business side and the warehouses and everything else. They started to shut all these businesses down in the UK and basically took all the manufacturing to Italy. But they still have the overheads of their service engineers and everything else. So they had to have a certain amount of volume going through to keep that business going. The more these businesses acquired more businesses, the more this vicious cycle continued, that they needed bigger market share. And the problem is, with bigger market share, you've got overheads. You've also got lots of profit, but they streamline that, cut corners. And as you'll see, the cost of cutting corners, especially with the Hotpoint, Indeset and Whirlpool, with regards all the recalls, and you'll have to wait to see in the video, but it's even caused a lot of deaths because of an appliance failure, not necessarily the company that was at fault with regards for death. It was the insulation on the building that caused the failure on Grenville Towers. But, what sparked the fire was a fridge freezer, and not being able to put it out early enough killed people. But when it comes to companies expanding at fast rates and taking on vast overheads, yes, I agree with you completely that the cogs of industry need to turn. But why does everyone keep wanting more? Miele has been highly profitable as an individual company for many, many years. Hotpoint was a profitable company until the British people started purchasing the Italian cheaper machines, and Hotpoint had no choice: either reduce overheads or sell out to Indeset. And this is what's been happening. And small businesses that pay their employees well and make a profit, why would everyone seems to have to want to acquire more, and this is the crazy thing in this world. Do you realize that 80% of the world's money is owned by as little as 2,000 people? When is enough enough? I hope that answers your question. Greed is our biggest problem.
All right, I would like to state
Next
the
one.
fact that the Hotpoint brand was sold to Meloni Group in 2001.
Yeah, Maloney is Indeset. Burkey? Sorry.
Yep.
You'll have to read that one as well. It's
Okay.
Samoa Electrics again, I think. Yeah.
Yep, the same guy. If inverter technology mainly saves electricity, why is the increase in machine price often greater than the lifetime electricity savings?
Oh, look. I go back to the last word I said. Greed. They're not passing the saving they're making on to the consumer. They're passing the saving that they're making on to the shareholders. And the shareholders are some of those 2,000 people in the world, and they just want more. Look at the water system in the UK since it went private. Look at our water bills in the UK since it's gone private. When it was state owned and controlled, it functioned. We had good water. All the suburbs around London didn't have the problems that they've got today because private companies own them. And the water quality is, excuse my French, everyone, shit. And the bills are astronomical. But yet we're in one of the wettest countries in the world. It's you're dragging me down to politics, which I promised I was not going to get involved in yesterday. Yeah. So I'm not going to. Next one, please.
All right. Alex Smith says, "Nice show. I wish I had your skill set."
Look, it's not a skill set, mate. We're learning. Burkai's learning. I'm learning. Jamil is learning. We're just trying to produce something that pays a good living to us and helps a large amount of people. Now, if I just ran a domestic appliance business nowadays, do you know how many times I've had to reinvent myself in this industry? And I'll give you a brief rundown. I was first trained up properly when I came back from living in Turkish Cyprus, because I used to fix appliances over there after being originally Ted Durrell, who was a Hoover engineer, first got me interested in appliances when I was 9 years old. And I used to go out with him occasionally. My parents would let me basically pass the tools to him and help him and assist him. Then I went to live in Turkish Cyprus for a while, and I did all the repairs for the English houses because an engineer over there had trouble getting the business. So I used to do the jobs for him and he used to teach me. I came back to the UK. I started selling secondhand goods, repairing washing machines, selling them. Then I got my first shop and I expanded out to 3-4 shops, and I had a warehouse as well. Then Comets and Currys started up and were selling machines cheaper than I could buy them. So then I had to start shrinking my business down, and all I did then was really a lot of secondhand and B-grade appliances. But the competition was so harsh that machines were being sold so cheaply at that point in time that I decided just to become a service engineer and keep my warehouse. But then the repair industry changed because people were just buying new machines and throwing away the old ones. And this was as early as this started really in the 90s. And the internet came along and that changed everything again. So eventually I knocked the nail on the head, sold everything, and took a few years off. I then came back into this industry about 2010, and the internet was really the place to be. And I started concentrating on YouTube videos, selling appliance parts online. And just a small one-man band, then two-man band. Now we're a three-man band. And it's only since I started speaking out, because I don't need to rely on the manufacturers anymore saying that you can't have machines because you're saying X about us. I don't have to buy machines anymore. I don't have to sell machines, so I can speak my mind, which doesn't always suit their any good for them. But we're an independent little family group, and we've got partners now from all over the UK and Ireland as well. Barry, for one, who's coming online in the next week or so, and we've got someone possibly in Derry as well, and also someone down towards the Cork direction. And we're allowing these people to sell parts on our website and try and make it viable for people today to be able to repair machines affordably. And as I said, I think it was yesterday or the day before, I was looking at Stark's Appliances in Grimsby, and I saw he'd listed some motors and he had them for £40 fully tested. Now, the new motors for those machines, if you had to go and buy new, were going to be about 140, 160 pound. So what is general public going to do? They are going to go out and buy a new machine because the part is so expensive. At least Stark's Appliances are offering a motor at an affordable price where you say, well, it's going to take me an hour's work and it's going to cost me £40, but it's still an advantage or cheaper than buying a new machine. Therefore, we're not only helping the customer, we're helping the environment we live in. And this means recycling correctly. So I hope that explains my answer. Why can't we have big companies like in China in the EU? Overheads, labor costs. I have spoken recently to some Chinese companies, and I was very surprised to get a phone call off them, knowing it is a Sunday afternoon and they're in work. Some of these people only have half a day off a week, and they live on a lot less money than we do. They have a tradition of being very, very hard workers because it's a very competitive society over there, and they have a different culture to us. You know, overheads in this country is one of the biggest problems, even if you look at high street chains. And I'm going to tell you, this is the last one. My local town, Caldecott, has got a high street. And when the big supermarkets came into play and they opened up in our village, the rent for anyone else in the town centre was so high that they wouldn't even go into business because they'd need to turn over in that shop £250,000 a year just to make enough money to pay the rent, never mind themselves and their staff. So small businesses get wiped out. And this is what the big boys want. They just want us slogging away. I read another article that said something like a couple of thousand millionaires have left Britain over the last 2 or 3 years. And that's because they don't believe that they can continue doing what they want in the country that they used to live in, and they've gone elsewhere. And it doesn't seem to be any way for the basic person to get up and to work hard and try to achieve bettering themselves because of not only house prices, overheads running a business. It's bloody hard work being self-employed today, mate. And, trying to run large companies, if you've got a couple of million in the bank, why the hell would you want to gamble it? But I go back to the wording that I used earlier. Some people, enough is never enough, but that's up to them. I had an Interset washing machine last me over 20 years. Spider wear took it out eventually. Yes, but you had the capability of replacing the spider back then. This is a 20-year-old Interset machine, would have been the one with a steel drum, and it had a huge steel band on the back of it, which would hold the inner drum to the outer drum. And it was a very well built machine. Big solid capacitor motor. It might have been, it all depends how old it was, but that was at the point where they were flicking over from the capacitor motors to the carbon brush motors. But the evolution in motors and certain components is good for the industry. I mean, I have nothing against induction motors. I just want them to build better circuit boards that control the motors, because the motors don't fail any faster than the old carbon brush motors. But the circuit boards are nearly, when a circuit board goes on a washing machine, a customer will think twice before repairing it because it's uneconomic to repair because of the cost of the components. Right, that it? British man suffered because of our fail labour rates overheads. Specialist fields was low voltage control motors. I've seen. You're going to have to read that, mate. It's still blurred.
Okay, I'm gonna read it.
I know who it's from.
Yeah, from voice over Vandine. British man suffered because of our failed labor rates and overheads. My specialist field was low voltage control and motors. I've seen what happens when the bean counters run the show, not engineering.
Bean counters are the word, mate. I mean, they if they could get away with it, they wouldn't even want service engineers. It's easier for them if a product fails in the warranty period, they just put a new product in. Um, the cost of labor is so high in the UK for these companies. I think this is what they might start doing eventually. Um, the one thing, the own we have a lot of power as consumers, but we need to huddle together. Our problem being is we don't huddle together, and this means we have no power as individuals. If we all stop, as of today, purchasing any machines with less than a 5-year guarantee, watch the industry change. Mark my words, it will change because if they're losing market share, they will have to change their policies. Okay, are we done?
Not
That's
yet,
nearly
but
2 hours, mate.
they're almost there, so I think we need brief answers.
Okay, well, accurate answers aren't always brief.
You're right.
Great stuff, man. You saved me time and money from watching your videos online. Yeah, thank you very much, Google. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the rest of that. But look, I enjoy what I do, and there's no harm. I'm spending 2 hours of my day here. Nearly, I spent an hour yesterday, an hour day before. Um, yes, I do earn a small income from YouTube. I have overheads to pay, Burkeye, for example, the tools that we use and everything else. But I enjoy doing what I do. And really, I don't need it for the monetary side. I actually enjoy it. It gives me something to do. If I wasn't helping you lot, I'd be stuck in some pub now. And I can't do that 7 days a week. I'm too old to drink like that. And Barry, before you say anything, if you're still listening, no comments, please. Anyway, next one. Okay, you got some sound effects. I don't think it all depends on the water area that you're in. Descaling, if you're in a hard, is it hard or soft? Hard water area. I wouldn't say you need to do it every month. It's every. It also it's not the time; it's the amount of washes you do. Um, If you wash twice a day, yes, you'd need to do it every month. If you only wash 4 or 5 times a week, you may need to do it every 3 months. You've got to see what the machine looks like once you've descaled it and work out how many washes you need to do before you need to descale in the water area that you're in. I hope that answers the question. I had a slow spin cycle, 600 RPM, so I bought a Miele instead. Look, the Miele's are great machines, and I would always say 800 to 1000 RPM is perfectly suffice. Drying the clothes properly so they can go into cupboards or wardrobes or whatever. In Britain, for example, we don't always have weather like we're having at the moment, so we're not able to put it on the line. Trying on, most occasions to dry the clothes through the winter is blowing hard work. I do want to make a couple of videos to assist people in future. I don't think we are using enough dehumidifiers assisted by cheap fans in a sealed room to dry clothes, because you'll be amazed how much laundry you can hang up in your bathroom if you put some rails in and then shut the door and leave a dehumidifier running. and having a slight breeze from a fan blowing over the clothing, you'd be amazed how well that dries the clothing and how much how little the energy consumption is of a dehumidifier. I've used EBAC dehumidifier and I tested one a while back and it was a very good dehumidifier, and that was only pulling 300 odd watts. So give you an equivalent, that dehumidifier could run for 6 to 7 hours non-stop in a sealed room, drying the moisture out the clothing to the equivalent load of a single load of washing. And I need to do some more videos on these in the future. Next one. Thank you very much, Planet Earth being. I will go out of my way to make some videos to explain this to people. I think we could actually eliminate a lot of, we've all got rooms and bathrooms that are not always used. And, you know, how often are you in the bathroom? Apart from going to the loo, you're having a shower once or twice a day, times that by 2-3 people in the household. Overnight, you could have a rail over the bath or in an area and leaving a dehumidifier running, and I think it would be much more efficient because of the amount of laundry that you can put up there. And the ladies will love it as well because there's going to be less ironing, meaning that you put everything onto clothes hangers and it's a lot less ironing than doing on a conventional system. I recently bought a new Electrolux washing machine. Recently, very surprised that compared to my 10-year-old Whirlpool, the washing time doubled. They do. It, you know, the washing time, it's using less energy, it's using less water, but it's having to wash and rinse and spin for longer periods of time. I do not think, and this is why we need to adopt the French labeling system that they have, that clearly states how energy efficient the machine is, how repairable the machine is, and we also need to put exact literage of water that a machine uses on the labeling system as well. Because if the machine is running twice as long, then it's using lower energy, but for a longer period. So this could be a way manufacturers get round some of these energy certifications and how they get AAA ratings and all sorts. I don't think there's clear labeling system in our country. Yeah, I'm all for dehumidifiers. And we have a British company that makes brilliant dehumidifiers. And I just don't think, I think it's a subject that hasn't been touched. And we need to start making some videos on this and making people aware that they don't necessarily need to have an unreliable tumble dryer. We could just use a closet in a room or small room and have a hanging process. There used to be companies building cabinets that had dehumidifier and blowing systems in there. But of course, they were so expensive, these, when you could actually build it yourself very cheaply. They just keep coming in, Burkeye, because it's 2 hours, 20 minutes. I got to eat and drink. Can an inverter motor run directly from AC mains without the inverter PCB? No. Simple answer. You would need I've forgotten what the name is. There is a special, things like lathes have a current, a converter. I can't think of a name of them. I use citric acid to these. Yes, very good, Alex. There's lots of natural stuff that we could be using. Vinegar, citric acid can be used for all types of different things, for removing mold. We don't need to use all these harsh chemicals. What do you think we were using a few hundred years ago? Natural products. Next.
There is no next, mate. This is the last one.
Excellent. I'm not even, if you want to see what outside looks like, have a look at the beginning of the video. So if you're on the replay and just jumped in at this point, go back to the beginning of the video and you will see the beautiful place I'm in at the moment. I have done some about 3 hours of video footage that I've got condensed down to an hour, and I will be uploading that over the course of the next 6-7 days. This is a stunning place, a stunning location, and brilliant people. I should have come here a lot sooner. I understand why they call it an Emerald Isle. Okay, anyone's got any questions for tomorrow's show, please leave it in the comments after this video has finished, and I'll be able to do some research on it. I've got some people to answer from questions today, or I've got to look up technical stuff. I've got to do my food this evening, dinner and everything else. And we've run on for 2 hours, 20 minutes now. So let's call it a day, and I will see you tomorrow. Thanks very much indeed for watching. My love to you all from Ireland. Take care. Bye-bye.